All right, we are back for another episode of Talkin Toads, fresh off of a Provo trip. It wasn't great. TCU is now 6-4, as we all know. They're 3-4 in the Big 12 as they lost to the BYU Cougars late Saturday night with the final score of 44-13. I know I had an eventful weekend with my trip out to Provo, but Reed, I know you had an even more eventful weekend. Congrats, Reed. You're a dad.
Yeah, I'm a dad, which is crazy to think about. Yeah, our baby girl was born Friday around 4:35. So yeah, special date for us, November 14th. Mom's doing better now. Baby, she'll probably be in the NICU for 2 or 3 weeks. Pretty scary delivery to say the least. But yeah, both mom and the baby are doing better day by day. So
Good, good. Well, we're obviously really excited for you, and in due time, she'll be home soon and watching a very mediocre bowl game with you on the couch, I think.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't even know if I'll allow her to watch TCU football. It might be bad for her eyes this year. Maybe next year it might be different, but yeah, we might blur the screen if TCU is on.
Yeah, this was not for this to be her first game is not ideal, but maybe it just makes her a stronger fan for it because yeah, this one was rough.
Exactly. Yeah, and y'all see her in this episode. Lesher's going to be the mainly the one talking about it. I was kind of in and out on my phone in the NICU room, so I really didn't see much of it. And I know Lesher, you were there, so yeah. How was the atmosphere? Did you get all the candy and soda? What all was happening in Provo?
Yeah, so the atmosphere was really cool. I kind of expected it to be loud, and it did. It got extremely loud at the beginning of the game. The stands were completely packed. I think this stadium holds, gosh, 60 some thousand. They say it's the largest Big 12 stadium out there, which I found surprising. And I want to say that there were maybe 100 TCU fans. I mean, it felt like there were not many of us. Even felt like our band didn't really travel and there were barely any cheerleaders. It just, from the get, it just felt like TCU wasn't literally and figuratively, mentally all there. So that was obviously very, very evident. The town of Provo, you don't want to go to. It is as advertised. We spent majority of the day in Park City, which is about a 30-minute drive from Provo. And yeah, anyone that wants to put the BYU game on their bucket list, I would strongly advise you do not hang out in Provo because there's truly nothing there. I mean, we got there 2 hours before kickoff, uh, dropped off our stuff at the hotel, and walked down the big main street to the stadium. And that was truly about it. We were there for maybe 12 hours. Maybe I'd feel different about it had we won, but man, Provo is not a ton of fun. But I will say the stadium itself was a really really well done atmosphere. It got loud.
Was it pretty cool? I imagine seeing all the mountains in the backdrop because of TCU, you just see like highways and buildings. That's about it.
Funny you say that because you couldn't even see the mountains. It was pitch black. So, and I wasn't there during. I mean, this time of year it gets dark really early. I wasn't there early enough to see the mountains. Absolutely, in the day it is very cool. It's a lot like Boulder. It's right on the foothill, so the mountains is it's really a sight to see. But for the game, I didn't see any mountain at all. There's a big Y that they have on the mountainside that you can see in the distance from the stadium, which looks pretty cool. They have a Y all lit up on the mountain. But no, there was no mountain. It was like a ginormous high school, like Friday Night Light atmosphere. I mean, the stands are old. We were really crammed in there. And then I guess yeah, probably the funniest thing is that the fans are just way too nice.
Yeah, I could imagine that. I remember in what was that 2023 whenever BYU was at TCU, all their fans were super nice. I'm like, can you just be a little like rowdy or kind of an asshole because like it's just weird going against someone who's nice. You're like, okay, these people aren't bad.
Exactly. I mean, typical if there's a flag on the play, you're typically, putting up your hands and arguing and yelling that, that it's bullshit, and they'll just turn around and be like, "Yeah, I don't know. I didn't agree with that. It didn't seem it was overly friendly." And yes, no obviously no alcohol, a lot of ice cream stands. Yeah. The weather was perfect. Couldn't have asked for it to be really any better. It wasn't too cold, it wasn't too hot. It was the perfect night for some football. Obviously, TCU did not feel the same way. Yeah, almost immediately though. Like I said, without a lot of fans in the stadium, it was all blue in there. You just almost felt like our backs were up against the wall from the very beginning.
And it looks like no one even got off the bus from that game. I really wasn't able to watch any, if much at all. I was kind of checking the ESPN app and YouTube TV in the NICU room, and once I saw we didn't score again in the first quarter, I'm like, this is going to be a long night. I think that's 5 out of the last 7 games that we haven't put up points in the first. Then after the first, what was it, 10-0? So yeah, I just knew from the first quarter and even before the game even kicked off, it was going to be a rough game. My prediction of the team kind of quitting seems like it kind of came out to be right. Based off the few glimpses I saw, there was just not much energy. No one was being held accountable for anything. Guys were kind of loafing around. So yeah, it just seemed like a recipe for disaster to start.
It did. They obviously were not mentally there, and you could tell from the very first drive that BYU had. I mean, they just marched down the field, poor tackling. Everything about it was poor. I think part of it is BYU is a really good team, and I can't really put my finger on why, but everything they did just seemed pretty easy. And maybe that's
They're just
more on
oh,
us.
go
I was
ahead.
going to say maybe that's just more on us, but they are just so sound. Everything looked easy on Saturday night.
I was gonna say, yeah, from what I've seen from them this whole year, they're a sound team. They aren't gonna shoot themselves in the foot like we do 7 times a game. And I was really disappointed with our defense. I knew our offense would struggle just because it has the whole year on the road, but I think we didn't allow a punt until the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, you allow 44 points to a team who, let's say, I think we have the better overall talent, but they're just coached so much better than we are on the day. 23 of 33, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, QBR of 93.2. So, a true freshman had the defense lit up all day, and like I said, based off the little I saw, Avalos and the whole team just looked confused for 4 quarters straight.
Yeah, we made Bachmeyer look like a Heisman candidate. And by the way, I know there was discussion about his weight. He is all of 260. Sure,
Really?
he is. His bottom half is ginormous. Yes,
Does he have a dump truck
yes,
on
he
him?
does, man. He really does. It looked like he got a little banged up in the second quarter, actually. And I remember turning to my dad thinking, man, he's not going to be able to use his legs as much. And boy, was I wrong. He ended up being just fine. But we got to him in certain points. But for some reason, we ended up. There were a few plays he looked like Michael Vick, where he just would scramble for 12 yards out of nowhere. It was ridiculous. It was a really weird game for our linebackers because it felt like the middle of the field was just wide open, and then our secondary was just overly exposed, as we know. Bud Clark got hurt pretty early on, so I want to see some updates there. He didn't enter the game. I think that was maybe the might have been the first quarter, maybe the second quarter. He got hurt, looked like maybe a stinger. He was just standing on the sideline for majority of the game. But even our corners, Michael Thiessen got a lot of play, and then that was the other guys. It was just a bunch of everyone else. I mean, I think Vernon Glover and Channing Canada started, but then didn't get a ton of play there after halftime. Still no idea where Avery Helm is, and some of the other guys. Anyway, it just felt like there was maybe some secondary mishaps, and whether that was a coach's decision or just the fact that we were just starting to get killed, just felt like we were never on the same page defensively, and that's not even bringing up some of our offensive woes. So you just kind of felt like from the very beginning that our defense was not up for the task on Saturday.
I didn't know that about any of the lineup adjustments. I think they're probably at the point of the year where they realize we're out of Big 12 title contention and we're also out of any other big game of that matter. They probably just want to see what all they have with the young guys. And again, I don't really know who played. But yeah, it's just frustrating overall. Like we're at this point of the year where the X's and O's and what plays worked, what plays didn't really don't matter because our season is just down the drain. So the majority of these previews and reactions are just mainly going to be program based or like who performed well and whatnot. We won't really dive into the X's and O's, but yeah, it just seems like a lot of the young guys are going to be getting more playing time here on out.
Yeah, and the offense, I don't even know where to start. I guess it does have to start with Hoover. just continue to be disappointed in his play in big moments, but also just away games, you're kind of running out of excuses. I know the offensive line isn't perfect, but you have a very capable wide receiver in Eric McAllister. Dwyer had a big drop in one play that should have converted for a first down, so there was that as well. You're down our first string running back. So yes, there are things in place, but there are moments where you just need Hoover to just make a play, and more often than not, he doesn't.
I don't even know if it's an away thing anymore. I think it might just be an overall thing because if you look at his past couple home games, especially against Colorado and Iowa State, he hasn't been great then either, and he clearly hasn't been great on the road this whole year. So it would be interesting to see where he ends up over these last two regular season games and even potentially next year. Because you got to imagine they're going to evaluate every position and every position coach. And I don't know if Bryles will be back next year, and I wonder if that would make Josh leave. But yeah, his years really just spun upside down on his head, and as that's happened, the team's years spun upside down on their head as well. And I also noticed with Hoover, it was probably around 1:30 or 2 in the morning. I was laying down in the hospital bed. I saw on Twitter that it looks like he got into a screaming match with McAllister. And I know some people think that might be a bad thing. I actually think that's a good thing when two of your captains are yelling at each other because it shows they obviously care about where the program is and they aren't happy with their play. So that was good to see. That was probably only one of the more refreshing things from the night. Were you able to catch that on the sideline, or did you catch that on Twitter as
No, I
well?
just saw that on Twitter, and I think it was really quick, and that is funny. The one positive from the night was an argument between two of the best players, but I like it too. They're obviously frustrated. They said after the game it's nothing personal, and that's just true competitors. Because yeah, it felt like throughout the game they were, I don't know, hot and cold on being on the same page. But it also felt like McAllister was one of the only ones that was getting open and making plays. Dwyer, like I said, dropped some balls, and none of the other guys really seemed to really get involved. I think Manjack maybe had one reception on the very first drive, and that was about it. So overall, man, not only was the defense getting demolished, but the offense was just never clicking.
I'm looking at the stats right now. I did not know it was this bad. Hoover, 10 of 23, 183 yards, two interceptions, 46.8 QBR, 10 completions. When's the last time you've seen a quarterback have that few completions for the game?
No, it was not good. That's why after the first quarter, you kind of knew it was over because I think they had two drives for two punts. There was nothing going, and then even on the touchdown drive, it took uh, a good bit to get to that point. I believe it was a fourth down conversion that they actually got it. I mean, there was a chance they didn't even score the lone score of the game, with the true freshman Denman running in on a 4th and 1. So which actually was a nice play call. I will shout out Bryles there. That was one of the better play calls he's made. But yeah, it was the poorest offensive performance of the year by far. And again, don't know what to make of that. If that's more so on TCU or if that shows how good BYU's defense is as well. I tend to think that we made BYU look better than they are.
I think it's probably a little of both because this team's trajectory has just been going straight downhill. But at the same time, I think BYU's still a pretty good team. The only team that's beaten them is Texas Tech, and they're number 5 in the country right now. And I think Tech actually has a good chance of competing to get in the semifinal this year. Uh, but yeah, I'm glad I really wasn't able to watch that game because I probably would have turned it off after the first quarter and just felt bad. Because there's really nothing to look forward to the rest of the year with this team. They are what they are. Dykes is what he is. Were you there still when it was? I believe it was in the fourth quarter, and apparently Dykes called a timeout on like a fourth down. Then they ended up getting like 2 false starts in a row. That just sounds so embarrassing.
I must admit, I left at the start of the fourth quarter. They have a huge production in between the third and the fourth. There's fireworks and flames, and it gets really loud. And me and my dad were just over it. So we left during that little presentation they did. So, but yes, I did see that. I don't take anything in the fourth quarter really to heart. I think everyone was just wanted the game to end. I know there was a pick six. that was deflected, and those things happen when you're forcing things. So I don't take the fourth quarter truly to heart because the game was over. I think it was 37 to, I don't know, 10 or 13 at that point. So no, I missed the fourth quarter, and I'm happy I did.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But to me, it's just embarrassing. Like you've allowed 43. What's the difference if it's 44-20 or 44-13? I don't know. It's just childish to me. And going back to Sonny, he had another embarrassing post-game press conference. I heard that he blamed some of the game on the cleats.
Yep.
I've never heard that excuse before. He told TCU fans, quote unquote, they can think what they want about the state of the program. Shout out to S. Johnson from the Fort Worth Star Telegram. He was kind of pressing Sonny a little bit. And the Fort Worth reporters, they really aren't known to do that. So that was refreshing to see. And yeah, he kind of backtracked on that statement a little bit during his weekly press conference this week. But he just keeps mentioning that there's been a lot of change in college football. They haven't adapted to it well. And Sonny, you're the one that needs to be the one adapting to it because you're the head coach of a Power Four team.
Yeah, I think it's lazy excuses again. And he made the cleat comment at halftime, actually, because I remember sitting there during halftime just scrolling through Twitter, and they did all come out, and most of the team came out in different cleats. I can vividly remember that. So he definitely told the team to change cleats as if that made the difference in the first half. It is becoming laughable. We expected this to be a loss. I think most TCU fans didn't see a win, and if they did, it was going to be a close one. But again, I stand stunned in how bad some of these losses are becoming. I did not expect to lose this badly, and that does fall on Sonny. So I told you I wasn't going to judge Sonny even after this game. I'm starting to. If the games continue like this against Houston and against Cincinnati, the last two games of the season, he absolutely should be on the hot seat because it's becoming inexcusable to finish out the season like that.
Everyone knows where I stand on him, so it's not even worth getting the time for that. But this team, just for the pride in the school and themselves, they just have to close the year out better. If they lose a close one, whatever, it really won't make a difference at the end of the day. You might get into a slightly better bowl game, but 6-6, 7-5, whatever, pretty much the same thing. So I'm just tired of seeing gross football. But yeah, going into Houston next week or this coming week, I know we're a slight underdog, but then again, I'm not even positive with that game.
Yeah, and it's almost, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm more bummed out because of Hoover and how disappointing he's been. I always felt like even if our offensive line isn't great, or even if our defensive secondary lacked, or even hell, if we're not in love with our head coach and how he kind of has that CEO type leadership style, I always felt like in the back of my mind, well, we have a guy in Josh Hoover who should be in the NFL one day and can lead a team because he's got a hell of a talent. And my confidence in him is just dwindling by the week, and that's probably what's most disappointing for me. There was maybe one or two plays where you saw an ounce of the Josh Hoover that we thought we knew in this game, and that was it. And that's what's most disappointing for me. So yeah, we'll have to continue the Sunny talks these next few weeks just to see how these games go. But for me, I would think the biggest talking point is what to do about Hoover. And I guess it's all connected. I mean, you lose these last two, then I guess everything's on the table.
One more thing on this game, just because there's really nothing notable. The black, white, black jersey combination never works.
Done.
Throw it into the sun, drain it down the toilet, whatever you want to do to get rid of those jerseys. We never went in those. I don't know whose idea that was to go back with the Oreo combination, but get rid of those. Just stick to the white and purple on the road. It looks clean anyway. But yeah, no, the Hoover point is very concerning. He's just been digressing throughout the year ever since that North Carolina and ACU beginning of the year.
Yeah, a lot of questions to be answered. Felt like I'm even more confused about the outlook of this team after a loss like this. Yeah, you can obviously kiss goodbye to any Big 12 title hopes. And now at this point, you're hoping to just get a okay bowl game with some okay vibes so that you can go into the offseason with an okay outlook. I mean, that's really what you're starting to look at in terms of best case scenario.
I don't even know what bowl that would be. Maybe like Rate Bowl. I think that's what it's called in Arizona, or AutoZone Liberty Bowl. But
You win.
where do we stand in the Big 12 now? Like probably number 9,
Yeah, let me
10,
look. I
somewhere
was gonna
around there.
say if you win out, I think there's still a chance you could maybe try for the Texas Bowl because you would have to beat two teams ahead of you. We are officially one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10th in the Big 12.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
10 out of 16. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not where you want to be. And unfortunately, over the past 3 years, that's been a common trend. Maybe a little higher last year. I think we finished around fifth last year,
yeah, I
but
think so. Yeah, I mean,
it's gross.
lost four out of your last seven after starting 3-0. I mean, I felt like the Arizona State loss was excusable. I was able to look past Kansas State, but these last two losses, I don't know. I don't know what I'm still searching for closure on these last two. I really don't know
Yeah.
what to make of it. And the fact is that we're not good enough. We're not coached well enough, and so there's just so many questions to be answered. I still need to see how they finish out these last two. You do go to Houston, who's ranked 23rd here in a few days, and then obviously you close out against Cincinnati at home. So I need to see what these last two games look like. But if they look anything like BYU, we have some real conversations to be had about quarterback, head coach, offensive coordinator. That's probably your top three just to start, among other
Yeah.
things. Recruiting,
Throw in offensive line.
yeah. Hey, we did get an offensive line
Yep.
recruit. Big boy from Oklahoma State, one of the top rated transfers at this point. But man, yeah, so many questions about NIL have been opening up this week, just about our recruiting practices in general. Yeah, man, get ready because if losses keep coming, it's just going to keep getting worse. Some of these conversations.
We never want any losses, but I don't know. People like the storylines, and that might help the podcast grow even more. So there's always a blessing in disguise, right?
Absolutely, misery likes company, and we're here to go through it with you guys. So keep rolling with us. Shout out to RDS Go Goods again. Can't thank you guys enough. They still have that promo going on. I believe it'll be through the holiday season with us. If you use code Talkin Toads with no G, you do get 20% off your order with them. They have some really cool hats and obviously that new TCU colorway that they have. Shout out to RDS Go Goods. And yeah, please keep following along with this pod. We're going to keep going through it together. Reed is now a dad, and I'm not traveling to any more away games this year. That's for sure. So
You're
maybe
done.
the vibes will flip here this weekend, but we'll keep going through it no matter what.
Yeah, maybe it's you that's been the problem, not me with the streams. You've been traveling too much, and over the past few weeks, I feel like you've been gone for 8 days out of the week, even though that's not possible. So maybe you just hold back in Dallas and see how these last two games go.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm running out of superstitions, but who knows? Maybe we're the problem. Ever since this pod started, we've been 6-4, and we're 10th in the Big 12. How about that? Things are going south.
Yeah, I don't know if it's us. I think it's more of the 56, however old he is, old guy running the wheel for TCU football. So until something changes with him, I don't think much is going to change at all. But yeah, I think that's good on BYU. Like I said, I really wasn't able to catch much unless you have anything else.
Yeah, again, not a ton of X's and O's. I do want to see some of these injuries that come out from that game, but yeah, we got our butt whooped from the very first drive until the very end. So we can just try to repress that in our memory. But yeah, that's all I got, and we'll move on. We'll talk to you here in a bit. Go Frogs, I think.
Maybe.